Hello and welcome to Connect FCS Ed, where we talk about family and consumer science education. This podcast is geared towards recruiting, maintaining, and supporting all FCS educators. I am your host, Barbara Scully, and I am here to help boldly celebrate with you families and careers. Hello and welcome back to Connect FCS Ed. I am your host, Barbara Scully. Today, I have an amazing educator friend. Her name is Kelsey Harvey. She teaches family and consumer science at Grandview High School in Grandview, Washington. I had the pleasure of meeting Kelsey last summer, actually, at the Washington State ACTE conference. It was our summer conference where we happened to be in a breakout session together and somehow got on the topic of interior design, and that's basically everything else is just kind of happened. So welcome, Kelsey, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Barbara.
Yeah, so how are you doing with remote learning as we are in COVID-19?
It's been a challenge, but I think it's going pretty well. I've gotten a hold of a lot of my students through different avenues. So through email, Remind, through Google, through Canvas, through calling. So yeah, it's going pretty well. We start completely online next Monday. So we're getting everything ready this week. We have conferences this week. So I would say it's going well. Most of our students have internet and a device now. So that is good.
Wow. I love hearing how your district sounds really organized. In my district, there's expectations, but yet because not everybody has a device or has internet access at home, it's the equitable issue. So things are looking a little different in my district, but I'm excited that you guys are set up and, learning is going to continue. I was just talking to my CTE director, and I was trying to figure out a way if I can create like labs to go for my foods and nutrition class. Unfortunately, that's not going to be possible just because of the same equitable issue. Maybe somebody doesn't have a certain saucepan or maybe even doesn't even have a working oven at home. So, and it's frustrating in being limited, but figuring it out and just keep on chugging, right?
Right. Yep.
Well, so what classes do you teach?
I teach, I am the only one in my department, so I am a singleton. I teach 4 different classes. I teach child development, interior design, food and nutrition, and then culinary arts. I've also taught independent living in the past as well, and baking and pastry arts. Wow,
that's really cool. And you are also an FCCLA advisor.
Correct. Current of yes. So that is my 5th or 6th prep, you could call it. That's a lot of work as well. Really, really fun though. We've gone to state last year. We have gone to qualify at state this year, but this year is different with the virtual State Leadership Conference. I've got about 3 competitors doing STAR events and about 5 students that are doing virtual FLP online currently right now. So it'll be interesting to see what plays out with nationals. Right now, I know national is on for July, but that could change in a moment's notice. So I'm crossing my fingers that we make it to nationals. That's been a goal of ours. So yes. Yeah, it's been good, though. It's been good.
That's exciting. I know all sorts of conferences have been getting changed up to virtual PDs, or they've just been canceling altogether. So I really hope you guys have that opportunity to continue on and go to nationals. That would be really exciting and for everybody involved.
Yes, it's going to be awesome if we do get to go to nationals. That has been the dream for a couple years. I've been at Grandview now for 4 years. So I started out really, really small with about 5 students in FCCLA, and now I have over 36. So yeah.
Wow.
It's been really fun. I've got a really great group, solid group of students. So we've done some fun projects over the years, and we continue to do those same projects every year, and then different ones through the community as well. So yeah, it's been really fun.
What has been like the favorite project?
I would say we do pictures with Santa every December. We've done that 3 years in a row now. And it was fun because this past year, my dad played Santa Claus. So he had the full suit and beard and everything, and he did really well. It's just fun. It's because it's something to get the community involved with and local for them to just be coming to the high school. And what's fun is they get to get their picture taken with Santa Claus, and that picture prints out right away onto a 4x6 photo. And then they move on, if they want to the stations where they can make that into an ornament. They can either make a picture ornament, or they can make just a regular ornament out of popsicle sticks and different art supplies. So I get my child development students involved with that, and my FCCLA students involved with that activity. And I would say that would be probably one of our biggest fundraisers, but also one of our biggest community events. So
that is really cool. I like how you're able to integrate, your child development class. That's perfect. It streamlines beautifully.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I guess with the different classes that you have, what are some of your classroom management tricks?
Yeah, so for those 4 classes, I would say for the first couple of days, I go over procedures and I go over classroom expectations, and we practice them. And I try to be as less of a robot as possible, because I know the students, they don't want me to just talk the whole time. So I might do a little bit of talking, a little bit of practicing, but then I also have them do a couple of different get to know you activities at the beginning of the year, just to kind of create this classroom atmosphere that's positive. I would say I don't give them assigned seating right away either. I wait a couple of days. I kind of make notes in my head about, who's buddy with who, and, who's a class clown, or who, you know what I mean? I just kind of take notes. And then by the 3rd, 4th day, I finally have a good idea, and I create a seating chart. And I would say that helps a lot with the talking and the off-task behavior. So that's one. And then the other one is I created it's kind of funny, but it's called a POW pass, and it stands for potty office water. And it's a pass that they get at the beginning of the trimester, and it has 10 POWs on it. And each time they have to leave the classroom for any of those reasons, they bring that to me. They don't have to ask to leave. They just bring it to me, and I initial over it or I stamp it. And they get 10 times in a trimester to leave the classroom. And so what it does is it keeps track of who's, leaving the classroom, but also it's an incentive for them. If they don't use it, they get leadership points. So a lot of students, want to, keep their PALs because they get leadership points at the end of the trimester for it. So it keeps the students in class learning. It also helps with the being disruptive or just constantly wanting to leave and not being where you're supposed to be. It tracks all that and keeps that down to a minimum. So I'd say those are 2 of my probably better classroom management procedures. And then the other thing is I teach, a lot of foods classes as well. So I would say entering the classroom is one of the things we practice is I don't allow bags in my lab. I have them put them on a shelf when they come in, and then they just grab their pencil or grab whatever they need. They grab their laptop and they have a seat and they get started on their entry task. And as soon as they're done with that entry task, let's say it's lab day, I have them get prepped for lab, and that happens pretty quickly. So I would say their entry into the room is one of the things we practice at least a week. Every day we practice to get that down. And then by the time, the second week rolls around, they are just rolling, with entering the classroom, knowing where to put their things, what to get out, what to start. So I would say that helps with the classroom management as well.
In a way, I'm really envious of you I'm not envious that you're a singleton, but I'm envious that you are also at the same time, because you don't have to do any classroom sharing. Because that's something that I have to deal with. I work with, two other amazing, culinary arts or foods and nutrition instructors. And, and we only have one lab. So we're constantly moving rooms and trying to figure out, the best schedule. And, because a couple of us, I think we teach the same class at the same time periods. So it gets interesting. So I'm envious, but at the same time, I'm glad I have a team.
For sure. Yeah, that's one thing. I don't have a FCS team per se around me. I have you and I have some other friends that are FCS teachers that I can talk to, but I don't have that support constantly. I do have a good PLC, career and technical education PLC at my school, but yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons to, I think, both of our situations. So
absolutely. Yeah. So what has been your favorite class?
Oh boy.
We all have a favorite class.
I love all my classes and I love that I get to teach so many different subjects, but I would, if I had to choose, which hurts me to say this, but I have to say it would be my culinary arts class. Yeah, because I'll tell you why. So they're a small class. There are only 14 students. So that makes the learning that much more one-on-one, and just these kids that I have are so amazing. I've had them for 2 years. I had them in food and nutrition. They passed my class with a C or better. They could be in culinary arts. So right off the bat, they already know me and I know them. So that makes it a little easier. The other thing is they're just really a self-driven group. They can be told once and they do it. They have such a good sense of just right and wrong, being a hard worker and knowing what's expected of them. And then they're just a fun group. We were just getting to the fun stuff, the catering and cooking methods and all that kind of fun stuff. I would say they cook quite a bit in that class, and it's just fun. They are a great group. So I miss that class probably a little bit more than the others.
It's just more streamlined is what it is.
Right.
Yep. They know what is expected. They know you and they know where everything is. So it's that familiarity. That's awesome. In my old district, it was a class that I'm pretty fond of it. It was, it's called Life on Your Own, but it's also independent living. So we would touch base on basic cooking methods. We'd do a section on, laundry care, do a section on, financial management and resume building. So it was a all around, awesome class that I really wish that we can, in my district now, we can incorporate, just because it touches just a little bit on all of the areas of family consumer science. I think it would also be a great topic to have for, in my district at least, at my high school, have that class, and then, as a freshman or a sophomore, have those students take it, and then which lead into, foods and nutrition 1 and then 2, and it goes into childcare basics. It leads into all of the different areas, especially financial literacy, since in my district, that's a graduation requirement. I just think that would be a great segue going into more deeper subjects of family consumer science.
Right. It almost seems like it would be a good pathway class, like a beginner class, and then you could have course completers completing all your different classes after that class.
Exactly. Yeah. So what have been your best practices?
Well, I've been privileged to do 2 different trainings since I've been at Grandview. And the first one, I was selected to go down to San Diego to do an AVID training. So there's been that. And there's also been this year, I was trained in CM, which is EL Achieve, and it's CM, it stands for Constructing Meaning. So I'll talk a little bit about both of those different trainings just briefly. They've helped me a lot in the classroom with different classroom techniques and methods. So one with AVID, and I have been doing some different things with them. I learned about having the students take good notes, and they're called Cornell notes. So during my PowerPoint presentations, which is, maybe once a week, I'll have them take really good notes. And that's really important to refer back to those notes. So I teach them about doing, organized notes and underlining, highlighting, and referring back. And also just asking the essential questions and making sure at the end they're summarizing their learning. The second thing with Avid is I've had them do gallery walks. So if it was any of my classes really can pertain to a gallery walk. If it was interior design and they were building 3D shoebox rooms, then they could do a gallery walk with a writing utensil and maybe a paper that I provided them that has questions or spaces for them to leave comments, or even some places the students could walk around the room and critique the other students' work. This is a great way that they can do peer-to-peer reviews and critiques, and also just give them some real good feedback other than just me, And the other one is a jigsaw. So sometimes when there's different types of reading that I need the students to do, or different sections of reading, and it's a lot, I'll break it down into a jigsaw. And so that's kind of cool, because what it is all my classes have groups. And so I number them off. Let's say there's 5 people at their group. I'll number them off 1 through 5. So that's their home base group. But I'll ask them to stand up, take their reading with them and their utensil, and stand up and go. If they're number 1, they'll go to the group number 1. And if they're number 2, they'll go to group number 2, and so on and so forth. And so what that does is that brings them to their expert group. So each group works on their own section of the reading and taking notes and asking questions. And then they will go back to their home group and each take turns teaching what they have learned from their expert group. So then what it does is students, reassemble as a whole class and then share their thoughts and their responses. So you kind of get a whole picture of each of the sections of the reading. So that's kind of a neat tactic. The other one for CM with constructing meaning, I have learned a lot about structured student talk routines. So we were all gifted with these amazing boxes full of stuff. And a couple of the things in there I've really used. So I've used the flip charts and I've used the talking sticks. And the talking sticks are neat because it allows me as the teacher to walk around the room and know who is supposed to be talking. The person with the talking stick is the only one to, share their thought. Then they pass it around. So when they're done talking, they place the talking stick on the table. So I know when they're done. It's kind of funny because I'll just kind of joke around with them and I'll be like, okay, well, the person that has to start with the talking stick is going to be the person wearing the most holes in their jeans. And they all laugh and they all look at each other and try to find who's wearing the most holes in their jeans. Or the person wearing a hat, or the person with the longest hair, or, I'll pick random stuff and they just love it because they just start laughing. The other one that I do is a turn and talk. And I kind of use the talking sticks with the turn and talk sometimes, but not all the time. So a turn and talk is basically they turn to their elbow partner and they share what their thoughts are and what they have learned so far. And this is a good tactic to use when you're doing a PowerPoint presentation or when you're lecturing, because it kind of breaks up the monotony and then they get to share their learning with the group. And then I'll use the talking stick sometimes with the turn and talk, because then I'll have a designated speaker for their group, and that person will hold the talking stick and share out to the whole class what their ideas were from their group, what they shared with each other. The other thing that I learned with CM is purposeful learning targets. I think I wasn't trained very well when I first started teaching how to make a good learning target. And so one of the things that CM teaches is having 3 components to your learning target. And those are language, content, and product. A learning target should be measurable. It should be attainable. There should always be something that the students are doing. And so examples would be students will be able to explain and describe. That's the language. 3 different ways that eggs can be cooked. That's the content. By a written response. That's the product. So you always have those 3 components to your learning target. And I feel like it just really helps you focus and be specific in your intention of what you want them to learn. And lastly, I would say getting the students to write well is one of the things that we focus on in our district, and being able to, whether that's, compare and contrast, explain and describe, or sequencing. Those are just some of the different things that you can do with CM and in teaching them. I have them use some of the flip charts. And it's just this chart that, you can give one per partner group. And they go and they flip the chart to, let's say you're doing a compare and contrast, yeast spreads to quick breads or something. You can have them turn to that, and there's a bunch of different adjectives and words that are used to help you compare and contrast. There's also sentence frames that can be used. So I just find that really helpful when they're doing any type of essay writing or any type of response, quick write. They can use those charts in class. So I would say those are some of my best practices for the trainings that I've been in. I would say one of the things that I've done in the last couple of years, and this isn't part of any type of training, rather, is just something fun that I do in my classes, is I always do cupcake wars in my foods classes. And I actually have real judges come in, whether that's teachers, paras, any staff that want to help, or any people from the community or my advisory committee. And then they have a critique paper that they actually will evaluate the students' cupcakes on. And I usually do it twice a year. I do one for Halloween themed cupcakes and one for Valentine's Day cupcakes. And it's fun for the students. They really get into it. They get to do their own theme, and then they get to also present their cupcake like they're on a real, baking show. They have to tell the judges like what they made, what's the inside, the outside, what's the theme. And they really have fun with that. It's good for presenting, getting those skills going. Then the last one, I would say I started having the students make tasty videos with my foods classes. I have them pick a recipe and they record it like a tasty video, from the top down, and they edit it. They use technology with this, so they can use any type of editing software they want, whether that is iMovie or what, they get to choose. And they put in, the ingredients of the recipe and what's in the recipe, what are the steps to the recipe, and they add music, and it's just fun. I love it. And then we get to show all those videos to the rest of the class. That would be some of my best practices, I'd say, for those. And then for child development, I've done the pregnancy simulator. I have the students try it on if they want to. I also have them take a baby home as an option for a couple days and see what it's like. And then for interior design, I've had them do shoebox rooms, but I've also had them do some online virtual rooms through floorplanner.com. And that's really fun for them to do that. So yeah, I would say all in all, I just try to do a lot of projects in my classes and make it fun for them and relevant. And yeah, so those are some of my best practices.
Oh, I love it. Just because, for my foods and nutrition class, we do the tasty videos. In foods and nutrition too, we do the cupcake wars. But for foods and nutrition 1, we do chopped. And I switched it up, in second trimester just to make it a little bit more organized. I really focused on the preparing and planning part, and which I believe set my students up for the success that they achieved, because I went into our pantry and prep area and I located, and also it correlates with, nutrition. So we were going through the 6 essential nutrients at the same time. So went into the pantry and I went through everything that we had, and I organized it, with vitamins, minerals, water, protein, dairy. What else am I missing? That was 5. Vegetables. Grain. Yeah. So went off. So I categorized everything that I had on hand. And then on my PowerPoint, I put up a grid of all the 6 essential nutrients and where everything was, what all the ingredients that we had fell under. And then I had students get into their groups I let them decide, who their cooking group was going to be for this. But I told them, I go, I want you guys to really figure out who is going to be in your group that you guys want, but is also going to make you guys successful. This is your part of your final. And so really take heart to this. And they did. They were going around and picking each other and saying, no, I don't want you in my group because XYZ, but I think you would be really good in this group. They were really helping each other out. And then they see all the ingredients that they have, but within their group, they then had to come up with 3 different types of recipes that they could use, because what if a certain ingredient ran out? So they had to have a backup. So we worked on that for about 3 to 4 days, just that planning process, really diving deep into creating a recipe, and then talking about, mise en place and plating. Presentation is everything. So they got really into it, and then I had judges from, various colleagues came in and they judged everybody's, plate, and they gave me the rubrics back, and oh my gosh, I had everybody on such pins and needles, because I told them, I go, I'll let everybody know by Friday. Well, I wasn't ready by Friday. And you should have heard the groans of disappointment. They're like, can't you just tell us who won? I go, nope, I'm not ready. And so then Monday morning, because over the weekend, I then went to Dutch Brothers, which that's what everybody wanted. And I bought, gift cards out of my own personal money. And I bought gift cards for each, for the group that won. So there's 4 individuals in a group. So that'd be $20.
Right.
But I would give them their own gift card for their place. And so Monday, I then put everybody's, I put all and I took pictures of each of the plated dishes that they made. And I had all of the dishes up on the PowerPoint. And then for that class period, it was just, there are 6 dishes that were up there. And then all of a sudden, through the animation slide, the dish that won would be circled. And you should have heard the excitement everybody had, and, cheering each other on. And then, they came up and I give them their gift cards, and they were all smug, and I got a picture of them holding a trophy that, and they each had a sign that said winner. So really made everybody made that group feel special. And then you'd also hear a little side groans, in the peanut gallery going, oh, we should have won. It's like, well, it wasn't up to me. This is what the judges said. And, it was passed around. And so, but it was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of work on the back end, but oh my gosh, it's completely worth it.
I love that. Well, you just made me think of another practice too that I do with my culinary arts students is I have them cater as much as possible. So different things that go on throughout the year, I let them get experience with cooking food and presenting it to the public, because they all have their food handler cards, and I want them to be able to practice creating food for other people. And so one of the things that my culinary students actually just did before this whole quarantine thing was they got to appreciate all of the paras, this, custodial staff, all the classified staff at our high school for classified staff week. And so one of the days they made, which was just really cool, one of the days they acted like they worked at Subway. And we had a big table set up where, it was just like if you work at Subway and people come in and order their sandwich, and we had somebody working the bread, we had somebody working the condiments, we had somebody working the lettuce and the onions and tomato, and then the drinks and the cookies. And we just had such a great time doing that. And I think the kids really appreciated it. And then the other thing is we have my culinary students do some catering events at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year, typically for my CTE advisory committee. And when we all get together for our CTE meetings, that's about 30 people that they're catering for. But I also let them choose what is the cuisine that they want to make. So we've done that for a couple of years now, where they have done, Italian food, they've done all American food, they've done some different Mexican food, they've done, what was the other one? Asian food. So different cuisines around the world, and that's just really fun. So they love doing that. And I guess I thought of that just because when you were mentioning how, you reward your students and, you announce who the winners are, and then they kind of all take part in that. I think that there's a big connection there with students when they can really own their own learning and get really excited about it, And so I think when you make it relevant to them and there's just a little bit of pressure on them, to perform well, I think that they rise to the occasion, just like, your students did. And then when you reward them and they feel so good about it, I think with my culinary students, they also take pride and ownership of their learning when they're actually taking what they're learning and applying it to real life, cooking for other people. That's a big step. That's something that they're going to be critiqued on, not just from me, but from people in the community or people in the school. Yeah, I think we have a party. I think we have a party after. We're like, good job. We have like ice cream or pizza or I always feed them afterwards too. So, all that hard work that they put in, sometimes these catered events can last for 8 hours, and they're working after school, and I always make sure they get fed well and rewarded as well. And I think that they appreciate that a lot. I think that makes the learning really fun and interesting.
I absolutely agree with you because, it's the relationship. Yeah. That we've created the foundation and we've implemented these stepping stones that they don't even realize that they are, they're rising to. But when you feed your students because you are proud of the work that they have done, they're getting that personal satisfaction of like, oh my gosh, she thinks I did an amazing job. And, this is that reward. I think that's huge. Yeah. I love feeding my students because that's something that I do that I have a lot of fun with. And my students also know that I like to feed them because we'll be playing Kahoot games in class and I throw candy at them. every time the question pops up and then, I see who the first name is on the leaderboard, I throw that piece of candy to them. But what I don't do is you're always going to have the same students up on the leaderboard. I always, after those people have had, their one piece of candy, I then throw it at somebody who I know hasn't received something. So I really try really hard to make sure that all of my students get a piece of candy by the end of the Kahoot game because, it can be discouraging, but I want them to continue to play because I'm gathering their, that information of what they know. They might not be quick on the thumb draw when it comes to, submitting the answer, but they do know it and I want to see it.
Right. One of the things I agree with you on that is making sure you're being equitable to, all students. And I'm a big person on reward. Like you need to work hard for your reward, And so I think that that's just what life is all about. I mean, I tell my students all the time, it's a competitive world out there. Sometimes there's a lot of people fighting for the same job and you really got to stand out. What are you going to do? Are you going to work hard? Or are you going to, and so I tell them that whenever they're doing something where they got to perform or, have a quiz or whatever, just try your very best. And that's what matters. To be equitable, sometimes I'll do 2 Kahoot games. I'll do one as a group first where they work with their group and then I'll reward that group. And then I'll do some individual Kahoots just to kind of see who is really standing out as well. So I think the group Kahoots, they really get into it and they get competitive against the other groups and they love it, So they enjoy that. And not all the time they're going to know the answer individually. So when they work with the group, they sometimes learn a little bit more. And so, yeah.
How do you, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm curious, how do you do the group Kahoots?
You can have them use one computer or one device or whatever, and you just have them log on. And as a group, you can adjust the time that the question is up there on the screen for, and I usually do like 30 seconds of discussion. So I'll change it from like a 10-second question to a 30-second question, and they get 30 seconds to discuss it with their group, what they think the answer is. And so that one person that has the device is the person that is pressing the answer, but they all agree upon it. So basically it's the same thing as individual, but you're just using one device and one group nickname. I usually have them come up with some funny nickname or whatever, or their favorite food nickname or whatever, if it's a food class. So basically that's how I run the group Kahoot. Oh,
I love it. I'm going to use that strategy moving forward into next school year.
That's a great tactic. Yep.
Yeah, it is. No, thank you for sharing that, because I hadn't even thought of that. So you opened my eyes on that. So thank you.
Yeah. I'm glad I could help.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to keep you from the rest of your day. I know you have conferences and all sorts of things that you're going to be gearing up to, prepare and do. So thank you for joining me today, and I hope that you could join me on another time.
I would love to, Barbara. Thank you for having me. It's been so fun. So I hope to do this soon.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for joining me today at Connect FCS Ed. In this podcast, we boldly celebrate families and careers by providing inspiration, support, and resources for teachers, students, and families. If you could do me a quick favor, please leave me a 5-star review on iTunes. My mission is to get this out in front of as many people as possible to help educate and inform the community that home economics is alive and well. Each week, I will choose one special person to win some Connect FCS Ed swag. So be sure to add your name to the review, and I will reach out to you if you're the winner. Thanks again for spending your time with me today, and be sure to visit me at fcspodcast.com for past episodes and more gifts to help spread the word that family and consumer science is today's home economics.